Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm May.
Hi, I'm Matt. Last episode, we got to know Jingdezhen's history of making ceramics. I finally know why it's called the capital of ceramics.
Yes, for centuries, Jingdezhen has gathered so many brilliant craftsmen from all over China, and ceramics made here go everywhere around the world.
I'm so fascinated with the porcelain made here. I heard there are many famous types. Can you name them?
Yes, they are Qingbai porcelain, blue and white porcelain, linglong or rice pattern porcelain, rose vermeer porcelain, and color glaze porcelain. Which one is your favorite?
Qingbai porcelain is my favorite. Jingdezhen porcelain became particularly important from the Song period with the production of Qingbai.
Yes, it was a transparent and jade-like type of porcelain with a bluish-white glaze.
It reminds me that the earliest pieces of Chinese porcelain documented to have reached Europe around the middle of the 14th century, the Fonthill vase, was from Jingdezhen.
That's amazing! Let's explore the secret of Qingbai well. Qingbai is a type of white porcelain known for its bluish tint and fine quality. Although it was produced during the Song dynasty, it is not part of the 5 classic wells of the Song period. Qingbai began appearing in the Northern Song period and quickly became popular on the Chinese market. Their popularity can be attributed to the fact that although they were produced in Jingdezhen, they were not only restricted to imperial use. The peak of Qingbai popularity was in Song dynasty, when they were widely exported to China's neighboring countries and duplicated across China's various kilns. I know that of all the celadon of the Song dynasty, Jingdezhen's bluish-white porcelain was the most outstanding. Do you know what made Jingdezhen an incomparable location for this new jade-like porcelain production?
There were many practical reasons. Firstly, like all major kiln sites in other parts of China, Jingdezhen had good access to water. In this case, the water came from the Chang River and its tributaries, giving access to Poyang Lake and major trade routes.
What else?
There was a rich supply of wood to fuel the kilns. Lastly and most importantly, raw materials with good quality were close to hand. Both China clay and China stone were available in the area, which could give the early Qingbai well a very distinctive body.
Do you know the origin of the name Qingbai?
We know that Qingbai well was born in Jingdezhen. Bluish white is also known as shadow blue because the body is so thin that it leaves a blue-tinged shadow.
I heard that this well has also been termed in Qing, which means shadow blue. Does the color come from the mix of white and blue?
Actually, the bluish-white glaze has a hue somewhere between blue and white. Compared to Song white porcelain, it's greener and more lustrous. Compared with celadon, it's whiter and has thinner glaze. At that time, this type of well was an attempt to recreate the texture of bluish and white jade.
I heard that since Qingbai porcelain first appeared, these wells have been admired for this remarkable quality and was called false jade.
Jade has always been a precious material, treasured by the ruling classes, and some scholars believe that Qingbai porcelain was in fact created precisely to fulfill the demand for jade, because Jingdezhen potters used fine local materials to file porcelain with the same color and texture as jade. It's also thought that Jingdezhen Qingbai well may have been invented under the influence of northern white glaze and based on celadon.
That's no wonder that outstanding Qingbai porcelain was produced primarily in the Hutian, Yangmeiling, and Xianghu kiln complexes of Jingdezhen.
Under its influence, many kilns around Fujian, Sichuan, Zhejiang, Anhui, Hubei, Yunnan, Guangxi, and other provinces began to imitate and produce Qingbai, eventually establishing a family of Qingbai kilns in China.
At that time, a diverse set of wells were produced. For eating, vessels such as bowls, plates, saucers, and jars. For tea and alcohol, vessels such as pots and cups. For holding flowers and for offerings, wells such as vases and censers.
Well, since you mentioned the different types of wells, do you know that most studies focus more on technological progressions? Period styles and fashions are an important aspect of ceramic history, which is often overlooked, particularly in ceramics of the Song period.
Qingbai well was very much a Song product. The earliest Qingbai pieces resemble these northern types, for example, Ding kiln and Xing kiln, in both form and the lack of decoration.
It's reasonable that most of the early Qingbai wells are simple bowls and dishes, but by the mid-Northern Song period, decorated white wells became popular in both the north and south. For example, at the Ding kiln, inside it, decoration was produced and decorated Ding wells were created in much greater quantities than plain examples.
The same was true at Jingdezhen. By this time, Jingdezhen began to specialize in white porcelain of the Qingbai type. At this time, incised and carved patterns began to appear on Qingbai wells, often in the same styles as that of the Ding well. The most popular designs were flora, particularly on bowls. What's the most typical shape of Qingbai wells throughout Song period?
For daily use, most Qingbai forms were tableware at that time, including wine and tea vessels, which is the most important aspect of Qingbai production. The porcelain body is ideal for making durable but light and attractive tableware.
That's true. Of course, Qingbai porcelain did not only find favor with the Song court, but also a commercially successful well that achieved huge sales in the capital and local area around the kilns, as well as in other parts of China.
In fact, Qingbai wells were not only popular in the domestic areas, but also regarded as one of the most important items for exports. During Song dynasty, trade became increasingly important. Porcelains were more conveniently transported by water. So the growth of maritime trade had a significant impact on porcelain exports. This is evidenced by the substantial remains surviving in the Southeast Asia, Korea, Japan, South Asia, Africa, including Egypt, and the Near East. Approximately 20 known countries in Asia, Europe, and Africa received Qingbai wells.
Qingbai well had already won a place in the foreign market at that time. How did the form and shape change later?
In the Yuan dynasty, tablewells were gradually replaced by jars, vases, and sculptural figures. The forms were generally larger, and the decoration often very complex. This change was certainly achieved by technological developments, but there was a distinct change in taste of ceramics in this period. Monochrome glazed vessels were replaced by highly decorated and painted wells because the glaze was transparent and, like olive celadon glaze, contained enough color to enhance carved designs.
Did the change influence its popularity in the market?
Surely, it continued to find favor in the domestic market and with the court, as well as being a highly profitable export well. Not surprisingly, foreign trade expanded during this period. One of the interesting changes that can be seen in the Chinese ceramic made for export in the Yuan period is that almost for the first time. Those responses for their production took into account the tastes of their foreign clients and made shapes and sizes specifically to appeal to those tastes.
After its production peaked, the influence of Qingbai could still be felt in the two glazes created through the slight alteration of the Qingbai glaze's composition. Thus, the Shufu glaze was produced, which was more opaque along with the glaze that was to decorate underglaze blue. Furthermore, it is on Qingbai well that the first experimentation with underglaze blue began, which eventually developed into one of Jing Dezheng's greatest productions.